Today, we're diving into something really fundamental, the sources of Islamic law, or what's known as Sharia. We're going to break down the legal framework that has guided Muslims for well over 1,000 years.
It's a great question, right? How does a faith that's so ancient stay relevant today? Well, the answer is all about Sharia. It's not just some old, static rulebook. Think of it more like a dynamic system, a methodology designed to tackle the challenges of any era, from the 7th century all the way to now.
So here's our game plan. We'll start with the big picture, the framework of Sharia itself. Then we're going to walk through each of the 4 main sources one by one and wrap it all up with the key takeaways.
Okay, first things first, you've got to understand that Islamic law isn't just a random list of do's and don'ts. No, it's a super organized system with a very clear hierarchy. Jurists can't just pick and choose what they like. They follow a strict order of operations, starting at the top and only moving down when they have to.
So what is Sharia exactly? The word itself means the path or the way, and that's a great description. It's the religious law that comes directly from the core text of Islam. It's basically the blueprint for how Muslims navigate both their spiritual and everyday lives.
And this right here, this lays out that hierarchy perfectly. Think of it like building blocks. The foundation, the absolute base, is the Qur'an. Right on top of that, you have the Sunnah. Now, those two are the primary sources. Only if you can't find an answer there do you move on to the secondary sources. Ijma, which is consensus, and Qiyas, which is analogy. See how each level rests on the one before it?
Let's start with that foundation, the Qur'an. This is the first stop, the most important source, the ultimate authority in all of Islamic law. Everything begins and ends here.
This really gets to the heart of it. For Muslims, the Qur'an isn't just a holy book. It's considered the literal, direct, and completely unchanged Word of God. It contains the core beliefs, the main principles, and the foundational laws of the entire faith. And here's the critical part. Absolutely no other source of law can ever contradict the Qur'an. It is the final word, period.
So what if the Qur'an gives you a big picture rule, but not the nitty-gritty details? What happens then? Well, that's when a jurist has to turn to the second source, the Sunnah. And this isn't optional, it's the required next step in the process.
You can think of the Sunnah as the Prophet's life in action, serving as a model for everyone. It's all his sayings, his actions, even things he silently approved of, which were all carefully documented in collections called Hadith. The Sunnah's main job isn't to create brand new laws, but to clarify and explain the Qur'an, to show how its teachings apply in the real world. It's like the practical user's guide.
In this hadith, it's a perfect example of what we're talking about. It's a saying from the Prophet that encourages a core value, seeking knowledge, and shows that doing so is actually a deeply spiritual act. It's exactly this kind of guidance on how to live a good life that makes the Sunnah so indispensable. All right, so we've checked the Quran, we've checked the Sunnah, but what if we're still stuck? What if a totally new issue comes up that just isn't mentioned in those primary texts? That's where our third source, Ijma, enters the picture.
Simply put, Ijma is consensus. It's the unanimous agreement of qualified Islamic legal scholars on a specific legal point. And this is a really big deal because it serves a crucial purpose. It keeps the community unified on new issues and stops things from splintering into endless arguments. It's a powerful tool for confirming legal rulings.
Let's look at this in action with some amazing historical examples. Right after the Prophet Muhammad passed away, there was this moment of huge uncertainty. Through Ijma, the community came to a unanimous agreement and elected Abu Bakr as the first leader, or Caliph. That decision created stability and a clear path forward. Another great example is the agreement to add a second call to prayer on Fridays as the community grew. You see, Ijma is all about solving real-world problems.
And that brings us to our fourth and final source, Qiyas. Now, this is where we see the most human reasoning applied directly to brand new situations that have no clear precedent in any of the other sources.
So Qiyas is basically like legal detective work. It's all about reasoning by analogy. A jurist will take an existing rule from the Quran or Sunnah, figure out the underlying reason for that rule, and then apply that same rule to a new, modern situation that shares that exact same reason. It's like building a bridge from something we know to something we don't.
Okay, this is the perfect way to see how it works. Let's walk through it. We have a known case. The Quran prohibits drinking wine. The jurists establish the reasoning, because it's an intoxicant. Now, a new case pops up, drugs like cocaine or heroin. Using Qiyas, they see that the underlying reason is the same. It's also an intoxicant.
Therefore, the ruling is the same. It's also prohibited. It's a really logical step-by-step process.
But here's the catch. Qiyas is also the source that gets the most debate. As this quote points out, because it relies so heavily on a person's individual reasoning to identify that root cause, different scholars can come to different conclusions. That risk of human error and conflicting answers is exactly why some jurists are very, very cautious when it comes to using it.
All right, let's pull all of this together and add one last very important piece to the puzzle of Islamic legal sources.
Now, it's really important to note that this four-source pyramid we've been talking about, Qur'an, Sunnah, Ijma, and Qiyas, is the main framework used in Sunni Islam. As you can see here, Shia Islam, while of course using the Qur'an and Sunnah, also gives a more prominent role to aql, which is intellect or human reason, as its own distinct source of law.
And you know, this whole structure really leaves us with a huge, fascinating question, doesn't it? The entire system of Sharia is this incredible attempt to balance two powerful forces, the unchanging divine word on one hand, and the very real need for human interpretation to keep it relevant for the modern world on the other. It's a constant dialogue between revelation and reason.
Hey, if you found this breakdown useful and it helped clear things up, do us a favor and subscribe to Spotwork Learning on YouTube. We love taking complex topics and turning them into clear, engaging explainers just like this one.